Good evening, everyone. Oh, that sounds very good. Good evening, everyone. I'm Roberta, and I'm an archaeologist. I know, when I said archaeologist, you didn't think to that. You will think to Indiana Jones, say. And to adventurous field trip to exotic lands. Yes, we do also that, but we also spend a lot of time in dusty storerooms and in laboratories measuring, counting, analyzing an object. So I thought today to tell you a bit about the hard life of archaeologists staying in the lab and also about my new research project. And something I've learned here in England is that the best way to do so is by having a cup of tea with you. Can I have please, someone has sugar? Can you please put two spoons of sugar? 1, 2, a bit more, come on. Thank you. Oh, that's much better. Well, let's start from sugar, actually. So sugar, as you might know, doesn't really come from South America. Does it? No, it doesn't. It doesn't really come from South America, but actually the sugar cane originally came from Asia and was brought in Europe by Arabs in the Middle Ages. Sugar production had a huge impact in European society. Think to chocolate, tea, coffee without sugar. Well, someone might like it, but, but no, they would taste completely different. But it was not only a matter of cuisine and taste, it was also, a completely technological change and social change in Europe, because sugar production needed an industrial organization, from its cultivation to its production itself and shipping. And people had to learn all sorts of new skills, how to cultivate sugar, boil it, cutting it, boiling it, pouring it, shipping it, all sorts of new things they didn't know. But in the 14th and 16th century, sugar production was one of the most important and richest industries in Europe. How did it happen? Did it happen in a day? No. And what was the impact of local people in this process? For my project, I'm going to look at one group of craft people involved in this, potters. Potters needed to make a huge quantity of what is called sugar pot. And sugar pot are, wait, can you hold it for a second? Thank you. Second, I'm hands-free. So sugar pots are sugar cone vessel with a hole at the bottom, and they're used in the last stage of sugar making process, when the liquid sugar is poured inside this pot and left to crystallize. When the sugar is ready, the pot might be broken and sugar released and then shipped. But potters didn't know anything about these ceramics. Okay, they were making ceramics before, but not this specific shape. So the shape was specific. They had to make huge quantity of this shape, and also sugar pot had to have specific properties in terms of resistance to heat and to continuous handling. How did they do it? But they did it at the end. And this is exactly what I'm looking at, how people transformed the way of making ceramics in order to respond to this high demand from producers and consumers of sugar. How might I explain this to you? Can I have my cup back? Oh, thank you very much, you're fantastic. It's something similar happened to this cup. Can you all see it? I see. Good. This was a test. So this is 18th century porcelain cup, which has a bluish decoration of a landscape, maybe a Chinese landscape. You probably think this comes from China, as porcelain technology comes from there. No. This is made in Stockholm-Trent, here, behind the corner. Chinese porcelain was, as still today, a very luxurious object, and it was wanted above all by, aristocrats and high-status people. This is why, in 18th century, an English potter invented a recipe to imitate Chinese porcelain, but using English glaze. It didn't make it more affordable for everyone, but still was less expensive than importing porcelain from China. So this is actually the best example, one of the best examples you have here in England of local adaptation of a foreign technology. How do I know all these things about ceramics? Do you want to know? Yeah? Because I break them. Yes. Yes. We as archaeologists, we glue pieces together all the time, but sometimes we have to break things. Great release also. Because sometimes, I mean, we need to know, clay composition, what was the content of ceramics, how it has been fired, all the things we cannot really know from the outside of an object. But we have a problem here, the museum curator. Yeah, think about that. I'm in this fantastic museum, which has pristine collection of ceramics. And I've told all these fantastic stories about how I can reconstruct daily life from pot, all the fancy techniques I can use, and I have to break ceramics. Yeah, the museum curator reaction is a mixed one between and my precious. But finally, I get it. I get to break them. And here I am in my lab, surrounded by tiny pieces of ceramics, and this is it. I can cut it, crush it, smash it, dissolve them in acid, and analyze them. And the instrument gives me numbers. I know, it's not as exciting as you thought. But I can transform these numbers in stories. These numbers can tell me about the journey of the potter collecting his clay, his choices in how to shape the vessel, how to decorate it, how to fire it. It can tell me how the pot was used, it was broken, repaired, and then discarded. Above all, these numbers allow me to tell you the story of people behind the object, of their travels, of their taste, and of their choice. In the case of the sugar pot project, which I'm going to start soon, is telling me actually that the potters locally made some changes in the way they were making ceramics. But these small changes had a huge global impact in European history. So now you know, from a piece of smashed pot, I can tell you the story of an object, but also a piece of history. Thank you.